Today, we're going to crack open the playbook of trader Michael S. Jenkins. Why? Because we're going to demystify the art and science of reading stock charts. This is really for anyone who wants to see what the market is actually doing, not just what the news is telling you it's doing. All right, let's dive right in. So, have you ever looked at a stock chart and it just feels like you're staring at random noise? This jumble of ups and downs with no rhyme or reason. It can honestly feel like you're at a casino. But what if there's a language hidden in all that chaos? A language that you could actually learn to read? In market analysis, there are basically two big schools of thought. First up, you have fundamental analysis. Think of these folks as the detectives. They're poring over company reports, economic data, news headlines. They're trying to figure out the why behind a stock's value. But then you've got technical analysis. And the technicians? They argue that all that why is just noise. They believe that everything you could possibly need to know is already baked right into the chart itself, the price, the volume, and the patterns they create. They are focused purely on the what. And that leads us to this core idea from Michael Jenkins. He makes the case that long before any big news breaks, before a company's success or failure makes headlines, the so-called smart money is already making its move. And guess what? That movement leaves footprints all over the chart. A skilled chart reader, he says, sees those footprints first, way before the story becomes common knowledge. So if we agree that a chart is telling a story, our first job is to learn its alphabet. And the most basic, fundamental character in that alphabet, the letter A of chart reading, if you will, is the single price bar. Now look at this. What's so cool here is how much of a story is packed into this one simple shape. See the very top of that vertical line? That's the highest price paid during that period. The bottom is the lowest. And the little notch on the left, that's the opening price. The notch on the right is the closing price. So it's not just a line. It's a complete snapshot of the battle between buyers and sellers for that day. And out of all of that, the really crucial part is that little notch on the right, the close. Think about it for a second. If a stock spends all day fighting and then it ends up closing near its absolute high, what does that tell you? It's screaming that the buyers were in total control right up to the final bell. That signals some powerful momentum. And, of course, if it closes near the low, well, the sellers won that day. It's a simple but really powerful clue about who's got the upper hand. All right, so we've got the alphabet down. Now we can start putting those letters together to form words and sentences. Jenkins gives us a really simple 4-step process for our first basic chart reading. So let's walk through his playbook step by step. And here it is. This is our roadmap. Just 4 simple steps. First, we're going to zoom out to see the big picture trend. Second, we'll look for those powerful bursts of momentum. Third, we'll hunt for repeating patterns. And finally, step 4, we do a quick reality check to see if there's even enough action to bother with. So step 1, identify the trend. Before you do anything else, you have to know which way the current is flowing. Is the chart over the long term generally sloping upwards or downwards? In trader speak, are we in a bull market where buyers are generally accumulating stock, or are we in a bear market where sellers are distributing it? This context, it's everything. It's the backdrop for the whole story. Okay, let's move on to step 2 and see how this builds. Now you look for what Jenkins calls big bar impulses. These are the days with those unusually long price bars, the big decisive moves. And here's the key question you have to ask. Do these big moves actually confirm your trend? So if you've decided it's a bull market, you should see the biggest, most powerful bars happening on the up days. This is your confirmation that you're reading the market right. Now, step 3 is where things get really fascinating. You start looking for patterns. And this is a great illustration of a classic one Jenkins calls a fold-back point. See how the sharp drop after the peak is almost a perfect mirror image of the climb that led up to it? Jenkins argues these kinds of patterns show up over and over again because they're just reflections of human psychology, of fear and greed, which, let's be honest, never really changes. And finally, step 4. This is the practical gut check. You found a trend, you've confirmed it, you've even spotted a pattern. Great. But is the stock actually moving? You need to look at the ranges between the highs and lows. I mean, a beautiful pattern is totally useless if the price is barely budging, right? You need volatility. You need movement to find an opportunity. So there you have it, the 4 technical steps. But here's the twist. According to Jenkins, learning all of that, well, that's actually the easy part. The real challenge, the thing that truly separates the winners from the losers, isn't about reading the chart. It's about reading yourself. And this quote, this might just be the single most important lesson. The market is a battlefield for two really powerful emotions, fear and greed. And your perfectly logical, beautiful analysis can be instantly wiped out by a jolt of either one. Jenkins says the primary job of your brain isn't just to spot the pattern on the chart, but to stop your own emotions from sabotaging your plan. So as we wrap this up, think about the journey we just took. We learned the basic alphabet of price bars, and we learned a 4-step method to read the story they tell. But we have to end here with the emotional factor, because at the end of the day, the chart is just a mirror, reflecting the collective hopes and fears of millions of people. And the final question it asks isn't just whether you can see the pattern on the screen, but whether you can manage the one inside your own head.